Hi, my name is Jenny and welcome to my channel. Today I'll be doing a Friday Reads video. Haven't done a video since January. Over the last few months I've been busy with schoolwork and now it is April, which means I'm looking forward to a spring and summer without having to required reading. Although I do plan to work on a few projects here and there. So let's get started with the books that I have. The first one is The Coincidence of Coconut Cake by Amy E. Richard. So this is a light romance that takes place in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Chef Lou Johnson is the chef and owner of a place called Luella's, which specializes in French cuisine. One day, Lou decides to surprise her fiancé with a coconut cake. When she arrives at his apartment, she discovers him and another woman who works at his office as an intern. Finding out that her fiancé had been cheating on her causes Lou emotional turmoil that distracts her from her cooking that evening at the restaurant when making that evening meal. On the same night, a renowned food critic decides to visit the restaurant and try Lou's menu for the first time, intending to read it in the paper the next day. It results in the scathing and negative review that causes Lou to lose business over the next few weeks following the publishing of the review. Without knowing who he is, Lou meets the food critic unexpectedly and decides to take him on a food tour of the many places to find great food when in Milwaukee. I have read about 100 pages or so, and so far it's been a pretty a lighthearted read. It's a romance novel, which is something I don't typically read, but I have decided this will be my first foray into a new and exciting genre that I wish to explore further. So the next book that I have I plan to read this weekend is Company Town by a Canadian author named Madeline Ashby. This is a book that came out a couple years ago, and it is set in a futuristic town where the whole town is an oil rig. In this city, the main protagonist is Go Jung Hwa. She is a bodyguard for the United Sex Workers of Canada, and in this role she has gained a name for herself. As a result, when the company changes hands, the new owners have decided to choose Hua to be the bodyguard for the young heir of the company. I don't know too much about the novel, but and I purchased it last year, thinking of reading it around this time, but I wasn't able to get to it, and now just reading the synopsis in the back reignites my interest in wanting to read the book. The third book that I have to show you, and it is the second sci-fi book in this pile, and it is Parable of the Sower by Octavia E. Butler. This is I guess would be considered a classic sci-fi novel, and it is also about a young protagonist. Her name is Olamina. She is the daughter of a minister, and her father, and the rest of her family, they live in a futuristic society in which I guess it's considered a dystopian novel where there are environmental and economic crises that cause how we know as society functions. It deteriorated to the point where government does not function as the way we know a government and society to function in, and so this I have read about 100 pages into the novel, and so far, it's been interesting to read how the author Octavia Butler explores themes of faith as well as technology and science. The next book that I have is one of two nonfiction titles that I've been meaning to read, and hopefully I'll have a chance to do so this weekend. And this book is The Death and Life of Great American Cities by Jane Jacobs. I'm not sure how well you know about Jane's Walks, which is um, a worldwide initiative where different cities and communities around the world have set aside time, typically in May on May weekends, to create walking tours of different neighborhoods, of the different urban neighborhoods in various cities and communities. And Jane Jacobs um, was explored topics of urban design and development, as well as life living in urban areas. And so, uh, because of her work in looking at urban cities in the United States as well as Canada, she has developed ideas that about um, making the cities and neighborhoods that we all live in to have meaning and to have meaningful interactions with the neighbors that we have. And so, yeah. And so I'm looking interested in reading this book in advance of Jane's walks that are gonna take place in May. And the next book that I have on my to read list for the weekend, it's a history book, and it is The Sleepwalkers, How Europe Went to War in 1914 by Christopher Clark. Um, I guess my interest in reading World War One and World War Two history comes from reading literature of that era. I did a presentation about a year ago on a war poet, a British war poet named Keith Douglas, and he wrote. He served in World War II and uh, and wrote poetry during his time in service. Um, uh, Reading that poetry and other works since has inspired me to revisit the subject of both World War One and World War Two, and try to understand more of the decisions that went into leading up to uh, the Great War as well as World War Two. Okay, that's it for me for this video. Hopefully, you found some titles that may have interested you as well. Thanks for watching.